right, so Space Nerds Alpha 4.9 is almost here, probably next week, and we've got a patch report on it. Now, patch reports are generally not that exciting, but sometimes we get some interesting news from them. Mainly what I'm looking for here is any little bit of talk about 4.10 that comes afterward, or any little bits of 4.9 we don't know about yet.
Last week, we announced our decision to move the release of our upcoming Siege of Ores in operation from next week out to mid-August, giving us more time to harden the system supporting our first iterations of content instancing. Now, this change was made in equal parts our own desire to make the new content as successful as possible, as well as the feedback received by you, the Star Citizen community. So, the easy thing might have been to just delay all of 4.9 a month, but as we spoke about on the last episode of Star Citizen Live, there are a host of smaller content and feature additions, bug fixes, and quality of life improvements we think are ready to go now. So, rather than just hold all those back, we've moved Siege out of 4.9 into a brand new Alpha 4.10 scheduled for August, which will now let us release 4.9 next week with almost everything else originally slated. And as for those things, let's jump in now and see some of what next week's release is bringing with it.
Okay, I almost thought I was freaking out and missing something because I'm seeing double here, but I think that must be a teleprompter or something that I'm seeing there.
Let's jump in now and see some of what next week's release is bringing with it.
Ooh, the 400i? Cigarettes in game.
Ahead of Rico Battaglia's fully instanced Mission Giver return in August, there's a new suite of repeatable evergreen missions that let you start building your rep with the legend early. Now, these include your basic prospecting contracts where you report back locations of resources as work for others, and contracts where you go and do the mining yourself. But there's also more intriguing offerings where you're asked to investigate the results of recent attacks throughout the frontier by an elusive group called the Moraine. They're attacking industrial ships throughout the system, and Rico needs your help to find out what's going on and to save her friends.
Is her name Rico? Man, I can never get names straight with this game.
Throughout the system, and Rico needs your help to find out what's going on and to save her friends. These contracts include discovering what happened to missing workers, boarding hijacked vessels to recover control.
Bro, is that the new gun? That thing looks cool. Is that? Looks like it's got a decal on it there. Maybe it's a certain skin on it. Yeah, these missions are the same things we've had. It's nice. They're certainly nice to have back after they've been gone for a little while. I didn't expect them to come back like this. But he's definitely adding a lot of flair to the description here.
Vessels to recover control. Retrieve data from suspected Moraine facilities.
Okay,
recover
that's not one
items
I've
from
seen.
Previously pirated ships. And even a little salvage of the remaining wrecks themselves. It's a nice primer for her full return in Alpha 4.10 and your further adventures with the storied Mission Giver.
I do think that this is a good look at how Starkitect is going to work to expand missions everywhere, not necessarily giving us new missions, but giving us missions with different backgrounds given by different people. It's not going to be some crazy game-changing difference, but I do think it will lead to there being content in places where you want to stick around. Instead of needing to always go to the same place to do the same thing, you can be like, well, I just like my flavor of that stuff over by Microtech. And it's just, this is Recos. This is the Levski version of that.
In ship and vehicle features, some long-awaited enhancements to the combat UI arrive next week, designed to help everyone better understand successful hits, penetrations, and damage to shields, armor, hull, and components.
Man, now that I'm seeing them again like this, they are very distracting compared to the pips. I think I'd like to be able to like shrink the size of the hit markers down.
That's just neat. Then newly improved ship flyby sounds are being reintroduced to the verse, with all new audio assets intended to deliver greater immersion, drink, oral fidelity, drink, and improved positional feedback, okay, during flight. Now, it won't be for every ship, but like other features such as components, engineering, and lamp, these these will continue to roll out to more ships and vehicles in subsequent patches.
We can actually go back to where they talked about doing this. Because I remember we were all kind of like, okay, well, when is this actually going to happen? Y'all are talking about audio. When you going to do it? And they're doing it. These guys.
The kind of hooks that our audio systems rely on can change. And depending on how much resources we've got and time, sometimes.
Hold on, let's see if we can actually find the, oh, right here.
What happened to the glorious flyby sounds from years ago? And should we expect the magnificent sound quality to ever come back to our ships? This was just a topic of conversation in Director Chat's
yesterday.
last week. Well, yeah,
I was just talking about it
amazing
yesterday.
timing on this.
That is bizarre. Okay, shall I start first?
Yeah.
Feel free.
They are there. They are going to come back, but they're going to come back with a little bit more enthusiasm in the future. I really want them to vibrate. I want you to feel them go overhead. I want you to, they are going to come back over to Graham on, where they are now and where they will be in the future.
Yeah, so there's been a period of transition, I guess, on some of the sounds that we've been working on, and things aren't exactly where we want them to be. We've seen the videos you're talking about. We know how good things were then, and we absolutely want to bring that back. We've had meetings about it just this morning and yesterday, and we're making it a priority to bring those back.
Question.
Yeah.
I'm bringing this up because it's very, very easy to get caught into a cycle of hearing this in these episodes and then just never expecting this stuff to happen. Not to say that it happened quickly. This was 11 months ago, last July, so 12 months ago. It took a year, but here we are. This is literally how I started this YouTube channel, covering what they said a year ago and comparing it to what they were doing that day. And I'm glad they at least got this to this point by now. Audio's certainly been taking the step up over the last year. This is just the latest. I actually like the sounds of the hit markers. They're again, quite loud. It's a little jarring, just like with the visuals. I would love to be able to tone down the audio. Being able to dial that into how you like would be nice, but I like getting audio feedback on the things that I'm doing, and I like when that feedback changes based on what the things I'm doing are affecting.
There's also a new ordnance cargo container feature going in, adding dedicated frames for things like missiles, torpedoes, and bombs to improve the presentation and storage of such items on cargo grids. Did I say ordnance or ordinance?
It improves the look. I really wish these things would click together, like attached to each other, so you could snap a couple of them together and then move all of those at once into your ship or into a space. That would be sick.
Cargo grids. Did I say ordnance or ordinance? Ordnance. Not ordnance? Yeah. So it's a smaller thing that perhaps isn't as sexy, but all existing distribution centers are being redropped on planets and moons with a variety of systemic and physics improvements that will fix a large amount of missions that occur there.
Huh. Okay, that's an interesting.
There was much rejoicing.
We'll have to check that out for sure. That's an interesting one. I figured they were going to wait to do all that kind of stuff until, oh no, Planetech V5 is only going to be in Nix. So it'll be a while before they can get back to these planets in Stanton. So that does make sense.
Yay! And ahead of StarWear, which I'll go ahead and tell you is currently tracking for 4/11 in September, cross your fingers, there's a new series of combat clothing coming to shops in the verse. Now these may not offer the same...
Okay, that's kind of big. I wasn't planning on doing a StarWear deep dive today. Maybe we'll do that on Monday, actually. If you're interested in learning more about StarWear, where it started, how it's progressed, what to expect, we'll cover that in very deep detail on Monday. But let's finish this for now.
Level of protection is a full suit of armor, but they'll do more to keep you alive in a gunfight than other clothing options. Plus, they're snazzy. Be seeing you. And closing out our coverage of Alpha 4.9, there are also behavior improvements to the juvenile and adult Valakars.
Please let them travel.
New hairstyles. A new classic from one of our most popular weapon manufacturers with the bullpup rifle from Behring.
That's a good looking gun.
And perhaps the most important addition to Star Citizen since planets and star systems were added, new kiosks have been added to New Deal. Thank you, Hassie.
I can't believe that we went eight years with a single kiosk, or like 2 kiosks in the New Deal to buy ships. That was the worst. It was worse than Levski and its freaking store.
So that's all I got for you now. Be sure you jump in next week to experience Alpha 4.9 yourself, and remember that not every fix being prioritized and work done now will come all at once. Also, to those of you who have been helping in PTU and reporting issues and helping Repro, we hope you'll continue beyond the release next week to help us ensure Siege of Urizen is everything it can be when it arrives next month. For now, we'll see you at the Bash next week.
At the Bash? Is that like when the patch comes out? Cool. Interesting. So this is probably going to come out next week, and then, well, it's definitely coming out next week, as he just said, and then we'll probably see the Evocati for 4.10 starting the following week, or the week after that, the last week of July, and that will be testing Siege of Urizen and instancing. This update is not huge. It looks like there is some good stuff being done to fix missions, to make sure that things aren't overloaded by new features, and hopefully giving them a little bit of breathing room to start using the tech preview for some of the more complicated stuff. But just looking at this update, we went over the Valakar behavior changes, new hairstyles, combat clothing. This one's interesting because they've certainly been talking a lot about this in the monthly reports, and it just got a very, very quick pass over there. So I do wonder how much is actually different. I'm hoping that they can actually move around, and the fight would be much more interesting like that. We got combat clothing. Didn't touch too much on that, but it's certainly interesting. I think it'll be more interesting to people when we get more localized gameplay. There's like a not insignificant portion of the community that anytime you mention anything like clothing or eating or hair, they're like, we always wear spacesuits and helmets. I could never be imagined to show my face. And it's like, well, eventually you'll be able to spend more time on planets. So I think this is a good preview for StarWear, just like the flight suit stuff was, just like the super heavy armor is, but I think it's gonna matter more later. Flyby sounds cool. Ordnance holder cool. Ship combat UI I think should be scalable. The mission pack is interesting. I don't think it's worth jumping into this patch if you weren't planning on it, but this is good content if you are in 4.9 to try out in Levski or in Nyx. And then this rifle I still haven't gotten to try, but I'm always looking for a new shorter range combat rifle to check out. Either way, that is a final preview, I think we can say, of 4.9. And from there, we wipe our hands of the 4.8 patch cycle. What pain that was. And then we will move on to 4.9 next week and see if it's any better.